Yeah, so Angular, when you define it globally or with your vendors, for example, Lodash, jQuery, and the other stuff, why not you making them available globally? As you can see here, we define our vendors, which are available globally, and then the AngularJS app.
One way to do this.
Yeah, it's just an option. If you have better suggestions or other usages, please tell us and criticize us.
So one critic from Johannes was that it's polluting the global namespace, right? As Johannes already mentioned, and Lodash is not used anymore. So how to overcome this? One could be to introduce some app-specific namespace, and for the vendor apps you access the Lodash. This would solve the global namespace issue. Still, the ordering issue would be left, but in the IntelliJ IDE, I would get auto-completion for that, right? So it's some visible way it would be some visible ways for the developer to know how to access these libraries. And with the concat task, I know I add Lodash to my list, and then afterwards in the same time I add the Lodash to my namespace. This could be one solution, one cheap solution to this, right? So how do you think about this? Good? Bad?
Don't care.
You repeat yourself.
So let's see.
Yeah, another option, as I mentioned before, would be just using external existing modules. For example, here for Lodash, you define it as a module dependency and inject the dependency visible in that place where you need it. In that case, it's used in the controller. You define the dependency, inject it, and use the random function.
There's still this problem open with registration modules and the order. Registered Angular module needs to be there, and then you can use it.
But how to guarantee the order? So the first thing, or the order has to be like the module registration, and after the registration, you can use it with a getter.
So who of you is this unknown? This kind of differentiation about Angular getter, and if there is this kind of brace, it's registration. Who doesn't, or it's some new? Okay, so all of you know this. That's good.
Yeah, so would that work?
Who knows that this, who would think that this works? And raise your hands. Why?
Will this work? So who thinks this will work? Raise your hands. 1, 2, 3.
You see? The people about having this concat conclusion in mind, I would expect many people to have an answer for this. So, it will work. Because Angular will just, these are registrations, so Angular will wait up for all kind of registrations to be loaded. If you don't use a service, a controller for this module, it will not throw an exception. It will wait to get all module registrations, and only if you use some service on it, it will check if all existing modules are there. So let's continue with this knowledge. So if you would split it, like to have a registration of Angular modules first, and later on have this getter syntax, to have your files listed, if you have it in a build process like that with a simple concat, it would work. So the ordering issue would be solved without any kind of additional script ordering mechanism.
So there is a pattern. Like first the whole module registrations, and after that all getters, and the getters, you don't care about the loading order.
So who of you reminds this? So we have a special name in our application for this file. Especially if you know that Mishko is a Java developer known to Juice and Spring. Any idea about the name about this? It's about dependency injection. Who of you knows about the Spring framework, or Java EE, or Juice? So, yeah, so some hands. I would call this application context XML in the Java world. And this pattern is exactly the same transferred to the Angular world.
So a possible pattern could be that I have my application context.js where I put all the module definitions and registrations, and after it, yeah, I just can load all JavaScript files without the application context.js. So in that loading order, it is possible to, yeah, just don't care about the loading order. For an example,
so the result would be an app.min.js, but in the correct form, right?
Yeah, and a possible
Just
concatenation could be, yeah, don't care about AMD, just load the JavaScript files like that. You have the model definitions and then all other JavaScript files in the source folder. But, yeah.
And then we talked again, okay, is it a good idea, AMD or not? What are the benefits and the drawbacks? So, extra for AMD.
AMD has some benefits, but in the context of AngularJS, yeah, there are a lot of questions too about solving dependency management. As we saw, you repeat yourself by defining the dependencies. In that case, yeah, AMD is nice, but why defining all dependencies? It's nice, yeah, that you have described your dependencies, but on the other hand, you have anonymous functions, debugging will get harder, especially just load this anonymous function, or a JavaScript file will be loaded, an anonymous function will be called, and it's hard to find the JavaScript file where the error happens, when the exception is thrown.
Also, one question was really about this async in the AMD, right? So we all know ECMAScript 6 will support async and non-async as well. There's CommonJS, which is roughly the same than AMD, but on the server side, so with Node.js. And how do we need this async for, which is within the AMD?
Yeah, we talked a lot about it, and there were some solutions. So, and I focused about this A in AMD, asynchronous loading your files, especially during the development. So you have your main entry file. There are two dependencies. These two files have a lot of other dependencies. So the dependency level can get deeper and deeper. Does it make really that sense? In order, yeah, to just write the wrappers for define, for just implementing AMD. So why, when you just use it in dev, or do you use it in production mode too? So in production mode, it's quite common, especially when you use AMD. Use a package manager which combines your AMD file, which would result, in this picture. Like in development mode, you have the asynchronous loading of all files, which is quite okay. But why, when you use in production mode, just the concatenated and minified version of all the JavaScript files? Does it make really that sense? So in that way, I could anyway use the scalp solution. I load my application, module definition, and after that bundled the whole JavaScript files. Would be the same result. Okay, let's hurry up. So in production mode, most of us are using concatenated and minified files. Someone are using just only one file, one huge file, and which is quite nice working, but why using just one big file? For example, I have a 2 MB file and I have to download it only once. So in that case, I could optimize it by splitting it into many different chunks.
it's like you have some big pages in our company. We have some pages which have like a lot of child libraries, and this is used on one page and on the other, and this needs to be concatenated into one chunk and delivered on specific pages, for example. But on the other hand, we don't want to have single too detailed files to be delivered for the specific pages. So this is like a midway. This we already mentioned.
Yeah, with the async loader.
So you could use the async loader where the order doesn't matter, right? So you can load files in parallel, which will also is much faster than a simple script include. And with this async loader from the Angular C project, it's much faster and also compatible to all older browsers as well.
Yeah, so just for a quick repeat, here you define all your Angular modules, and here you load your controller services, which implements the getter for the defined module.
Who's using the Angular module loader? Who knows about this thing and what it is good for? So actually it's supporting you to even overcome the issue of the registration of Angular modules. So there can be a registration afterwards before a getter is there. So it's even supporting this situation. It's there from the beginning of Angular. So you should have a look at it. Maybe it helps you in your project.
There's a question?
But this means you can't use MGF in your HTML, does it?
You have to bootstrap your application manually, yeah?
Yeah, so you can't do both, because otherwise you would bootstrap it twice.
We also always do like Angular Bootstrap because it's more visible to do that. This NGF, it's also, we have some conflicts, and if we combine it with JSF, for example. So with this Angular Bootstrap, we are used to, or are there any other experiences of you? An advantage of NGF? No. Okay, let's continue.
Yeah. How
As we
about
already mentioned, we could use some others, like Webpack. Who is using Webpack already? Okay. Then I should yeah. So the great thing about Webpack, it's the same than Web Components, is the idea to not only modularize JavaScript, but also CSS and images. And this is what actually is the real modularization. If you only modularize JavaScript, it's the half truth, right? You need to modularize everything. Like especially for Angular, it's a directive, and you need to have it bundled in one module. Otherwise, you're lying to yourself what your module is. So this could be one solution of a dollar.
this remembers me a little bit about web components, the Polymer way. Okay, so yeah, one advantage of splitting your generated JavaScript file into chunks would be you can use a multi-page application. Like on the landing page you have a small AngularJS application, then you can log in with the page reload. Like on non-single page application you have to log in on a separate page, and then you came to the dashboard, and here you can implement another AngularJS application. And here you can split it, for example, okay, I have my common components, which are included on each side, and then I have my defined landing page JS app, or my dashboard JS app, or user settings, or whatever. You split and build it into chunks, and then you can combine it on every page where they are required.
So this is an interesting question, maybe for the break as well. How many single pages is good for my application? Or should I split it into several pages? There are advantages and disadvantages. Maybe you already thought about this kind of problems. And let's keep it open question.
Yeah, another solution or another option when you compare it to AMD or to Gulp is like Angular AMD, which means you load your files when you go to the root. For example,